Jim, you're fairly new, but and you haven't had a chance to write a contract, but you've been through one contract writing class last week, so this will kind of be like a little bit refresher course. So I'm going to go a little faster than I normally do because I'd like to get to, after writing the contract, I'd like to show you guys how you can do an official counteroffer back and forth, or you can do a manual counteroffer back and forth, and the differences between the two, so that you understand how you can negotiate back and forth. And then Whitney asked me if I would just review the contract to close process a little bit here at the end of class. All right. So when you're writing a contract, there's a couple things that is important that you do. Okay. First off, you need to really know your addendum, all right? And so we have an addendum chart that we've designed that will help you identify the different addendums. Okay? So these are all the potential addendums that you could have in the contract. And what you want to do is you want to familiarize yourself with the different addendums that are going to go with the different contracts. And so what we've done here is, you'll notice in parentheses, it gives you an answer. Okay? So a condominium association addendum must go with the condominium. And then a homeowners association addendum must go with the property that has a homeowners association. And then seller financing, if owner financing is involved, then you have to have the seller financing addendum. So what I want to recommend that you do is that you go through and you read each one of these addendums and get familiar. And this chart will help you understand when you should use which addendum. And so you might ask yourself, well, wow, how do I get to all those addendums? All right? So a couple ways you can look at the addendums to figure them out, all right? When we look here at transaction desk, okay, we can go directly into individual forms, and this is our online filing cabinet. And so from here, we want to go down to the far bar folder, which is down here in the bottom, okay? Here's the far bar folder right here. So when we click on the far bar folder, these are all the potential addendums that match up with that chart that can be used in the contract. Okay, so this is where you would find those addendums to go with the contract, depending on the certain situation. Now this one particular addendum right here, it says the comprehensive addendum. It's all of the addendums in one document. All right, and so when you get ready to go to your to our training folder, okay, and if you want to look at the comprehensive addendum, you can pull up this form, and you'll be able to pull up this form. Got to load. There's 32 pages here, okay, and you know, my recommendation is that you read through these 32 pages and get familiar with the different types of addendums. Now, just because there's 32 pages of this document, if you were to write a contract, you only have to pull out the sections that apply to your transaction. You don't have to attach this gigantic addendum. So like you can see right here, it just says page 3 of 3. So that first 3 pages were the condominium rider, okay? And then you'll notice down here the next section is the homeowners association rider. So it has all the riders in order that they're in the system. But this is a great way to have one document that you can just scan through and get familiar with the different forms. All right? And I know that this might be boring. but our job is to write contracts as real estate agents. This is the backbone of what we do. Whether we're working for a seller and we're having to review the documents that someone wrote for a buyer with the seller, you need to know this stuff, okay? Or whether you're writing a contract with a buyer, you need to know this stuff. So either side of the transaction, you need to know contracts, and you need to know contract addendum. Instead of trying to be the master of all the different types of contracts that are out there, I highly recommend you just master one. All right, and we're going to master the FAR bar. And then once you've mastered the FAR bar, then you can reach over and start dabbling in the FAR contract, which is also called the CRISP. It's very similar to the FAR bar, okay, except there's just some slight variances and changes. But the one contract that we use, the FAR bar, has more teeth. It has more legalese in it and ties people down more. So that's one of the reasons why I like to use it. I'd much rather have a stronger contract with my clients than a weaker one. Now, as contracts go, there are two types of contracts, an as-is contract and a regular contract that has repair limits. And that's the difference. One is as-is, gives you the right to inspect the property, and until the inspection period passes on the as-is, your contract is contingent on that inspection. And so if you write a contract that isn't an as-is, then you have repair limit. And the buyer is locked into the property if the inspection doesn't show repairs greater than the repair limits. So if the seller is willing to fix the repairs, the buyer does not have the option of canceling the contract. All right, so that is a huge difference between the as-is and the repair. If you want to tie your buyer to the contract and the property, don't use an as-is. And if the seller is willing to fix the property or the repairs to a certain dollar amount, and the repairs come in less than that, guess what? The buyer's got to move forward, and the seller has to fix things. All right, so, and that's not a problem. I mean, maybe I'm coming across as that's a problem, but no, it really makes the contract stick together much better. But if you're working for a buyer and you're trying to protect the buyer, an as-is contract sounds like it's better for the seller because they're selling the property as is. They don't have to fix anything. But in actuality, it's protecting the buyer in the fact that if the buyer has any hesitation or doesn't like the property from the time they go to contract for 15 days or whatever the inspection period might be, if you change it, until that period ends, the buyer can cancel the contract. So it's like having the property under contract with the right to cancel it. Now you can add an addendum to the regular contract and make it an as-is, or you can make it contingent on the home inspection. And if they find anything wrong with the home inspection, they have a right to cancel it. So I just want to reiterate those kind of things that you can do. All right, so the best way to write a contract is actually from the MLS. The other thing that we have in place to really help you do things better, okay, is we have a worksheet, okay? And the worksheet is designed to make it easy for you to fill out a contract. These are the blanks, the majority of the blanks in the contract. And so if you're able to fill out the worksheet, you should be able to fill out the 11-page contract, okay? So we're going to go through the process of making an offer today and making a contract. So when I met with my client, I'm out there showing the property. I always have one of these with me because that's just how I roll. I like to have my worksheet with me so I'm able to, write up these contracts right on the fly. So I take down the information, the fill in the blanks, what they're looking for. Once I have all the information, now I'm going to go back to the office or back to my home computer, and I'm going to now look up the property. So for easy things today, I'm just going to pick one of our listings that we might have. Here's a property in Willow Chase. So let's check that property out. So here's a property in Willow Chase that's active. They're asking $400,000 for it, and we want to make an offer on this property. Okay? I do see that it's in a homeowners association. I got taxes. I'm looking for the homeowners association fees. I don't see them. Oh, here they are. Here's the homeowners association. So I know there's fees, monthly fees. So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to go straight in the transaction desk to make my offer. All right, and by doing that, it brought all the information over of the property. And again, this is my transaction overview, and I can see here in each gray title bar is a certain section. This is the transaction information. These are documents that I may have uploaded. This is my incident forms that I'm going to upload. Down at the bottom is my contact. And then I have tasks. We really don't use tasks. And the menu over here to the left-hand side, these are shortcuts to the gray box areas. Well, the first thing I see here says I would like to add a contact to my participant. So I can click on this orange button to add my contact. I can also come down here in the bottom and add my contact. Now I can see here that the seller's name, okay, is they put the wife and husband in here as one. So I need to have them in here separately so they can sign separately. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to edit this, okay. So here's the husband's name. Add new person to the contact. I am adding a seller, right? And by the way, those of you that might not be familiar with computers, all I'm doing is cutting and pasting the information. I had it together, and then I just copied it, and then I brought it over here. So now I have the seller's information in there. So now I need to add a buyer, because I have the listing agent, listing company, the selling agent, selling company, the two different sellers, and now I need to add the buyer. What's that?
Well, you can add James Smith as a buyer.
You want me to add James Smith as the buyer?
Yeah, James Smith.
Okay. and James happens to have my my email address. All right. So now I'm going to save that contact. So now you can see James Smith is in here. So to get back to my transaction overview, I could just click right here on my transaction overview, and now here in the bottom section are all the names properly the way they need to be for my contract. So now I need to go bring my forms in. All I need to do is over here on the right-hand side is click on Add Forms. So the forms that I need to add, so for today, we're going to do an as-is contract. So I'm going to click on my individual forms. I'm going to come down to my far bar. And the first contract is my as-is contract. Well, there are a couple addendums that I'm going to need to add. One is I'm going to add a disclosure for insurance. So I'm also going to add, and you should always add the insurance disclosure to every contract. Matter of fact, Michael and I just talked about that before this class, and he wants me to teach that we always add the insurance addendum to every contract. This is why. Joe Ebert just lost the deal yesterday because the insurance cost was too high and the buyer wanted to walk. Well, the buyer walked, but because he didn't have this addendum, he ended up forfeiting his deposit. So we want to make sure we protect our buyers by having the right addendum. Now, the other addendum that I need to add here is my homeowners association. But before I do that, I'm going to check the MLS again and see if they uploaded the homeowners association. And there would normally be in this left-hand corner about right here where my mouse is, that would normally be where there's a stack of papers. And you can see there's no disclosures up here. It's probably because she just didn't get them up there yet. This is a brand new listing. It's only been on the market for 2 days. So she probably hasn't had a chance to upload her forms yet. But I still want to make an offer, whether she has the forms there or not. But because she doesn't have the forms, I gotta create a form. So now I got to add the homeowners association disclosure because I know that it's in a homeowners association. I know there's dues. So these are the 3 documents that I need to have. And again, I would need to know if I need to add any of these other addendums, but that would determine based on my conversation with the buyer. All right? So now I'm going to add my forms by clicking on the Add button. So here are my forms that got imported, right? So they got successfully imported. Well, now I need to update them. What I mean by update them is I want to auto-populate all the names into the forms. So if I click on this button right here in the middle at the bottom, it says auto-populate update forms, you'll see this changes up here at the red. The red changed to all forms successfully updated. Okay, first it said all forms successfully imported. Now it's updated them. So now I'm ready to go in and write my contract. I have my worksheet filled out, and I know what the buyer wants. So I can kind of go through here. So here are the names, and now you can see how the husband and wife as a seller got separated here, which is perfect. And now I have James Smith, which is, you know, Laura's client.
Yep.
Right. All right. So furnishers that we're going to include, and I just want you to notice, most of the appliances are included up here in the top section. Okay. Your range, your oven, dishwasher, disposal. The one thing that's not there is the washer and dryer. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put the washer, and my client wants the washer and dryer. The next section would be where I exclude. I would exclude property, meaning like a chandelier or something like that. So the price that I want to offer on this property is $400,000. Okay. My initial deposit is going to be $2,000. All right. It's going to, I'm going to put the deposit when we have an effective contract. And I don't know, I'm going to put TBA in here because I don't know who's going to hold escrow just yet. Because we're going to ask the seller to pick the title and pay. So I don't know who they want to have as an escrow company. There's no additional funds that are necessary. But I am going to get 80% financing. So I can put 80% in here, and the words down here under the as-is contract automatically change to balance. I'm okay with that. Time of acceptance of the offer. Go ahead.
I have one question. So if you're writing a contract, can you mention to the buyer if they have a title company, or can you recommend a title company for them, or is it better just to find out from the seller who they're using?
Okay, well, I'm going to have the seller pay, so I'm going to let the seller pick. So I don't know who the seller is going to pick. Now, if the buyer was going to pick, then I would make some suggestions. Maybe they would like to close with an attorney, or maybe they want to close with a title company. Maybe I make a couple suggestions.
Gotcha.
And if I made some suggestions, I could actually provide them with that information then.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
No problem. So I'm writing up, I'm giving them 2 days to get back with me on the contract. I typically always give people 2 days. If I write the contract on Friday, I want an answer by Tuesday. Okay? So I want to give them 2 days. And remember, this doesn't mean if this day comes and goes that they can't still accept the offer. It just means that if they accept the offer beyond this date, the buyer doesn't have to move forward and buy the property. All right, since we're getting financing, I'm going to give myself a good month and a half. So I'm here in August. I'm going to go to September, and I'm going to go halfway through October. So I'll probably, let's just say October the 12th, I think we can get this thing closed. And the rest of the contract is fairly simple. There's just a few little things. For instance, right now we have a hurricane that's brewing in the Caribbean. We can have a Category 1 hurricane off the coast of Florida by Monday. I'm not sure if you guys knew that. Here's a live situation. I'm writing a contract today. If my client doesn't have insurance by Monday, we can't close that week. So in this essence, we're going to have to wait way past Monday to get their insurance, because you can't write any insurance in the state of Florida if a hurricane is within 100 miles of the Florida coast. Okay? So just a little trivia information for you. All right. The property is not subject to a lease, so there's no lease. We may not sign the contract. The buyer is getting the financing. They're going to be getting the conventional type of loan. They're going to get a fixed-rate mortgage. I'm not sure what their prevailing rates are going to be, but it's going to be for 30 years. They are going to make application within 2 days. Okay? By the way, your homework assignment is to read through the entire contract and understand the different paragraphs. Here are the closing cost estimates that are shared. When I come down here to who assigns the title, I told you guys that we were going to have the seller pick title and the seller to pay title. Okay. There's not going to be any home warranty. And we're going to ask the seller if there's any special assessments that they're paid in full. Now, if any special assessments come up, this is a place where they might, counter if they're aware of anything. These are just our disclosures in the contract. This is our inspection period. Well, for this deal, we're going to actually move our inspection period down to 10 days if they'll accept our offer. Okay, and then the rest of the contract really is just explanations of different things. So you need to understand the contract to be able to explain it to your client. So this is why you have to read through the contract at least one time. Now you shouldn't interpret the contract for them, but you can just read it to them. Different sections. Well, this talks about your liens. This just talks about the time in the contract that it's calculated in calendar days, meaning every day counts, including weekends. Conveyancing, they have to be able to convey the property to you. Where's the closing going to happen? Here's the procedure that's going to happen. Here's how escrow is going to be handled. This is how the prorations are going to be handled. Access to the property, conduct inspections and appraisals. Risk of loss. If the property were to burn down between now and closing, you don't have to move forward and buy it. This property is not part of a 1031 exchange, so this doesn't apply. You can't record the contract in the public record. Modification just says, if we make modifications, once we all agree upon the contract, we can't make modifications to it. If the buyer fails to comply with some of these things, they're waiving their rights on certain things. Riders, it just says anything in a rider supersedes the contract. All right, so whether it's handwritten in or whether it is typed in. Just talks about collecting checks, the loan commitment, applicable law venue where if there's a dispute where we're going to settle that dispute. The last one here is SPERPTA, okay, which has to do with the foreign seller. Well, we don't have to deal with that in this situation. Here are my potential addendums. Well, we know we have a homeowners association addendum, and we also have an insurance addendum, which is right here. So here are the two addendums. So since I've added two addendums, the addendums need to be checked in the addendum box. All right? I can also write an addendum in here if I needed to. Okay? And then this would be it. That's the completion of these pages. So now before I exit, I come over here and I hit the Save button. This saves all the changes that I made to the contract. And now once I've made those saves, I can now exit this document, and now I'm ready to do my next document, which is my flood insurance. Okay? So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to look at my flood insurance. I'm going to talk about it being not flood insurance, but homeowners insurance. And I'm not sure exactly what they're thinking they're going to pay, but let's just say it's not going to exceed $3,000, okay, a year. And I need to find this out. If it's left blank, it's 30 days after the effective date or 5 days prior to closing. That means I could cancel this contract if my insurance comes in over $3,000 5 days before closing. Well, that's not good for anybody, the buyer or seller. So we're going to try to get this all ironed out a lot sooner than that. So I'm going to give my buyer until September the 19th to figure it out. Sorry, September. I'm going to give him 2 weeks to get his insurance quotes done. That way, everybody involved knows that he's getting insurance and is going to be able to move better. I just want to make sure, yeah, because next week is when the hurricane potential comes through. I think the following Wednesday we should be able to handle that. No flood insurance is required. All right, so this is done. I come over to my file. I hit Save. Once it saves, I can come up here and hit File, and I can exit out of the editing program. All right, the Homeowners Association. Well, before I jump into the Homeowners Association, I'm going to come down here and take a look at the MLS. The reason I'm coming down to look at the MLS is because it has the fees. It tells me right here that the fees are $240 paid monthly, okay? And the community is Willow Chase. So I'm just going to assume the name of the association is called Willow Chase Homeowners Association. Being that said, now I'm ready to do my Homeowners Association addendum. Okay, I got Willow Chase automatically come in here. I could leave it alone. So let's just leave the name of the community like that. That's fine. I can see here my monthly obligations are going to be $240, and it's per month. I'm going to make sure I put my monthly. Oops. All right, so per month. This says special assessments down here in the next sentence. Well, we don't have any special assessments. This talks about leasing from the homeowner association. Well, there's no rent for the facility. That's it on my HOA disclosure. So now I'm just going to come down here and hit Save. And now I'm going to exit. And now I can come to my transaction overview here. And I can see all my documents are down here done. My next thing is to send this to my client to get it signed. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit I'll send a sign and get my document signed. So when I click on I'll send a sign, it starts me a new signature file with the address. It's going to be an inline signing. Okay. I'm going to click on participants. I'm going to go for my transaction because I know that James Smith is in here, and there he is. Now, I can send this to them as an email, or I can do what's called an in-person signing. An in-person signing would be when they're in the office and you just want them to sign it on your computer right there because you're ready to go. Now, or you have a tablet. You're with them. You wrote up the contract on the tablet. You're with the people. You can do inline signing right here and have them sign it right there on the spot. Okay. Most of the time, though, we're going to have remote signing. So I'll show you what that looks like. We'll do remote signing. We're going to add that particular person. Now it's time to add the documents. I'm going to add the documents from this particular transaction. Here are all the documents. I can just click up here at the top. And it tells me the source, the Instinet forms. And remember, the Instinet forms already know where all the signatures and all the initials need to go. So I just click on Add. And now it's compiling all those documents. And now it's asking me, hang on one second, is buyer number 1 James Smith? And that would be correct. Yes, it is. Because all I have to do is hit Save. Buyer number 1 is James Smith. So now I need to go, I've added my 3 documents. Now it's time to go through and get my signatures. So as I'm going through the documents, you'll notice right down here at the bottom that it's already there. Because these are Instinet forms, I don't have to add anything. Okay? They're already there. Okay? All the way through the whole transaction. Even the signature page, which is down here at the very bottom on page 11, has their signature. And then it has the date stamp. So I don't have to do anything here. I just need to go through and make sure all of them are there in the contract, and I did. Everything's there. And so now I'm ready to go to my next step. My next step is the contract is done, ready for signing. All I have to do is send the invitation, and we're good to go. So I sent the invitation, and now it's up to the consumer to sign the document. So I'm going to play the role of the consumer. So let's see if we can get this to work. And I'm going to log in to my online email. So here's my login to my email. You guys might have seen this before. Now here it is. Now just imagine that I'm James Smith and I get this email. So I click on my email and it says right here, you have a signing. You're invited to sign. You need to create a password and accept. And all I have to do is click on this image to start my signing. I click on the image, and now it's preparing my signature boxes for me. It asks me, do I want to use this, or do I want to draw my own signature? Okay. So if I wanted to draw my own signature, I could, oops.
Boy, that looks hard.
Right?
Yeah.
It was hard.
Just the way that you're signing.
All right, there's my signature.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, That was the clear button at the bottom. All right, I like that one. All right, so there's my signature. There's my thing. And if I wanted to change it now, let me go here and select the font instead. You know, I can just come in here. All right, and I can just select the font this way instead. All right, so once I've decided what I wanted to do here, I just hit the accept button, and it brings me to my document. Now, the first thing it gives me a chance to do is review everything. So I can review the document as a buyer from my agent, right? And then there's a big red start button up here on the right-hand side. So when I'm ready to start, I just click on the start button. And it points to the initials. And for me to activate this, I just mouse over it. And I click it. And once I click it, it takes me to the next one. I can go through the whole document like this, initialing, even signing, and initialing. And then once I'm done, I'm done. I can complete this. So I went through the whole document. I've completed. Nope, I've completed signing. And now it asks me, do I want to create an account? And I'm just going to click on the no thanks. And away it goes. And it says, attention James, blah, 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 blah. There you go. And so that's my information that I got that document. So let's check my email again real quick, guys. Let's go over here. And let's go into my email. And I'm just going to click on my inbox. And the reason then get things loaded. Now we're looking at my email as a real estate agent, not as the buyer. So me as a real estate agent, this is what I've gotten in my email. I've gotten an email that says, hey, do I want to look and save or print the final documents? They're right here. I just click on this button, and I can open the documents. At least I think that's what it's supposed to do. I don't want to try a security scan. Anyway, everything's frozen up. All right, guys.
Daniel, I have a question.
Sure.
If you're sending a document to multiple people to sign, does it matter if you do it simultaneously or in line? Like if you did it simultaneously, they all get it at the same time and then you get one back from each person, or does it collaborate and put them all together into one document?
Well, it works both ways. So if you do it simultaneously, oh, I finally got through. There we go. When you do it simultaneously, they all get it, they all sign it, and then once it's complete by everybody, then it sends it back to you with all the digital signatures in place. I prefer inline myself because that way one person does it, then the next person does it, then the next person does it.
Okay.
It's just a personal preference, but it comes to you the same way. It won't come back to you until after everybody's completed it. The simultaneous one just allows everybody to work on the document at the same time.
Okay.
And then basically, you know, it pulls all those signatures and puts it into one like form, you know.
Right.
So here's my document signed, okay, with my initials. And it's got like a little key icon on it, okay? Does that make sense? So now I would submit this to the other agent. So I'm just kind of getting out of here. Let's just close this. Leave my work mail up for a second.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Once you finish the contract and before you send it to the customer, how do we send it to you so you can review it before we finish those steps?
You know what, that is a great question, and let me show you how to do that.
Okay. I was trying to practice and I couldn't figure it out.
Yep, no problem. All right, so from your overview, okay, from your overview, what you want to do is you're going to come to the edit button over your Instinet forms, okay, and click on your edit button. And so you want to get to this screen, all right, which has to do with your forms. And so you want to select your forms, and then you're going to come here, email selected forms. Now you can send them as a link, or you can send them as an attachment. And then you just put down that's it. And you want to take the cover page off. We don't need the cover page. Does that work for you, Laura?
Yes, yes, thank you so much.
All right, so again, from your transaction overview, you click on the edit button over the Instinet forms, okay? That's how you do it. And then you select your forms, and then you go to email selected forms. All right? Now I want to show you also over here, here are all my documents signed. Here's my contract signed within Transaction Desk. Can't quite see it, but the initials down there in the bottom, okay? So now we want to make a counteroffer to this transaction. Remember we offered $140,000? So let's talk about counteroffers here for a second. Okay? And so let's say the other party wanted to write a counteroffer to this offer. Let me show you what form you would use for that. So we're going to come to our overview. I need to add a form to my transaction, so I will come to edit my Instinet forms. I want to add a form. I click on Add New Form. Come here to my individual forms. I need a counteroffer form. Couldn't find it written by counteroffer, so let me just come all the way down here to counter. See if I come up with it. I found two. Here's the document that I'm looking for, the counteroffer form. That's the one I want. Now I'm going to add that selected form. So when I pull up my counteroffer form, this is what a counteroffer form looks like. It puts the information of everybody involved, the address of the property, and then is it the purchase price that we're changing? Is it the closing date? Is it the following terms that are changing? Are we excluding something from the contract? Or what else is it? And I just want you to know, when you look at a contract, and I think I have one up here. Well, this is the addendum. Let me just pull up a contract real quick. In a contract, okay, there's lines down here on the left-hand side. Do you see all the numbers? And do you see the asterisk? All right.
Yep.
So every contract has a line number, and the asterisk means there's a blank in the contract. Okay. So when I come back here to my Instinet forms, this is where I would put the line. And we know that the offer line for the purchase price is line 26, paragraph 2. So let's just say in my counteroffer form, I'm not going to use the section up here. I'm going to just show you what I would do if it was a line item, okay? If it's just the purchase price, I could just change the purchase price here, all right? But if I had to use lines, then I could just say, you know, line 26, number 2, and I'm going to put the purchase price to be, you know, 403. And then that would be it. And then I would save that. I come to File, and now I hit Save, and then I would exit my program. All right, so that's how you use a counteroffer form to make a change. You find the item in the contract, and then you put the, and again, I'll just bring this up. You put the item in the contract, and then you talk about what line it's on and what the change is, okay? This form supersedes the contract. Now, there's another way that you can make a counteroffer, all right? And so I believe I stuck it in here. Oh, it didn't come through right. Okay, it did. All right, so another way that you can do a counteroffer on a document is you can strike through the item, and then you can change the item, and then you can have your contact or your client initial the change. Here's another change. We added a deposit. We initialed the change. I changed the closing date. I changed it here, and I didn't have room to write, so I put an arrow down, and then I then went ahead and I changed this. Does everybody do you understand how to do that part?
Yep.
So you can manually do this is a manual counteroffer versus using a counteroffer form. Now, when you send this back, you should send all 11 pages, the entire contract. Most agents try to take shortcuts and just send this one page, and you're going to find yourself doing shortcuts. But I want you to make sure that you remember that the full contract is part of the transaction, and that's really what I wanted to show you. Okay. So now you have a contract, and we know how to make a couple different types of counteroffers and how to get our e-signatures done. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open up for question and answer sessions for this.